Even if it's a matter of protecting your car from burglars, it's easy for children to climb in an unlocked vehicle and end up locking themselves in. By the time you figure out what happened, it might be too late. Okay, that's everything.
Well, thank you very much.
Just a note too, also, and I know that some people, if you're also your pets, you have to be concerned about too, about leaving them unattended. The weather may not be that hot here in Marathon, but the sun does generate a lot of heat inside the vehicle. So.
Good, thank you for that. Okay, so I'll ask members if they have any additional to the agenda. I'm just going to add on the verbal report for the OPP, the Police Services Board's AGM in Toronto. I attended in the end of May. So I'll just do a quick verbal on that. Anything else? Hearing none, I do have a motion that Council hereby accepts the agenda for Monday, June 29, 2015, regular meeting of Council as circulated amended. So because we only have two councillors today, I'll just rotate. Is that fair between the two councillors? So Councillor Debuchy for movement. All in favor? Thank you. Any disclosure of interest? Hearing none. I do have a motion here that Council hereby adopts the minutes of the regular meeting of Council held on Monday, June 15, 2015, and the closed meeting of Council held on Monday, June 15, 2015, is circulated or amended. Moved by Councillor Debuchy, second by Councillor Gingras. Any discussions on those minutes? Hearing none, I'll call a question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, this evening we have delegation is going to do a presentation on the Marathon Economic Development Corporation, and that would be the chair, Joy Bott, as well as our manager, Bob Hancher, is going to assist Joy with the presentation. Good evening, Joy.
Good evening.
And if you don't mind, before you start, I just got the okay from Mr. Cresswell that our system's working fine downstairs so that people at home can hear and see you perfectly.
Great.
Thank you for that, Al.
Before I actually begin my report, I'd just like to show you and encourage you to read in Northern Ontario Business. We have a full-page article on Rudy Wall and his prospectors' successes lately in the July edition, and that's really exciting to hear. And we'd also, Bob and I, like to show you our Biz Kids t-shirts. We have Biz Kids going strong today. We started down at the Lakeview Center, and we have 7 young people who today made a business plan for their business this week, and we'll all be in the mall over here at 11:30 on Friday to sell our products. Tomorrow is our financial day, and they get to take out a loan of $20 to buy their materials for it. So it's an exciting time for them, and an encouraging time for entrepreneurs in get them young, right?
Yes.
Can you get the dates again so the public can?
I got an announcement at the end of the meeting as well.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thanks.
Mayor Dumas and members of council, what I have today is the Marathon Economic Development Corporation 2015 Annual General Meeting Report to Council. The protocol agreement between the Marathon Economic Development Corporation and the town of Marathon sets out various requirements to ensure there is an understanding of accountability and function between the two organizations, and to put in place regular reporting and communications procedures, this being one of them. The MEDC held their 2015 annual general meeting on June 8, 2015. The following documents were emailed out to you. The AGM agenda, the AGM annual resolutions, AGM minutes of June 2nd, 2014, which were approved at the 2015 meeting, and the 2014 annual report. Just have a couple of things I'd like to highlight. As usual, the work we do seems to blow really hot sometimes, and we get really excited about things, and then all of a sudden those things pull back and sit in the background for a while until once again they come out for us to move along. Right now, the group of 7 and some tourist work, it seems to be really hot, and we're doing lots of work around that right now. You also have in your in your package, the key performance indicators that were put together by our office. And you'll notice that we have well exceeded the expectations for the year of 2014 with those numbers. And as you know, we're in the process of making some changes with those KPIs, but we're just really pleased that the number of connections that Bob and Greg are making and the number of things that we're doing are just growing by leaps and bounds. We're particularly pleased with things like the work with the Chamber that we've been doing lately. Do you have any questions about any of that before I go on with the rest of this report?
Any members of council? No?
I'll wait till you highlight this.
Okay, continue on.
Okay, financial implications are none. The options are approve the MEDC 2015 AGM and 2014 annual report, or B, refer the 2015 AGM and 2014 annual report back to the MEDC for further revisions. And the recommendation is that the MEDC recommends option A be selected, and that the 2015 AGM and 2014 annual report be approved as presented. And this is respectfully submitted by the Board of Directors.
Thank you. And does anybody else have any questions of that annual report? Councillor Debussy.
Yeah, just to there, with, I noticed that in this day and age here, and we still have pamphlets and stuff out in there as promotions. What about you as that Marathon Economic Development portion, about your website, Facebook, social media's issues? How, what's your plan moving forward on that, or how are you going to tackle those issues?
We're feeling very uncomfortable with what's happened in the last couple of years. It was recommended that we wait until the town had their website up and that we joined with them, which we're quite happy to do because we are very much linked together. But that's taken a long while to actually get put into place. I believe that Greg, our intern, is very knowledgeable when it comes to this kind of thing, and we're planning to do a whole lot more with the website when it gets up to.
And I think in general, the Facebook and the Twitter, and I mean, certainly some of the stats within the annual report are a reflection of social media.
Mm-hmm.
You could not get those stats out of picking up the phone color or sending out faxes. It's just impossible. So a lot of this is emails. I mean, you know, we respond to 50, 60, 70 emails a day. So social media is a prime benefit to the economic development at this point.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and also being tied to bigger economic development engines, you know, like the Thunder Bay area, the Northern Ontario area, and be able to link with those ones. Because what to us, I'll say, when we went through email, is what the new generation is social media, right? I mean, basically, they don't even hardly email at all, and they can do everything off their phone. So for us to worry about email and websiting, okay, is kind of like, I'll say, second generation to what's moving forward. So, I mean, and I know we've been lax, and I know as a whole, maybe municipalities have been lax, but there are some good examples out there of communities that are, you know, running forefront on this. And I think both you and us need to coordinate our efforts, because it's not just that. We also have a Chamber of Commerce that can piggyback or benefit from this too. So I think one of the things that both us and economic development needs to coordinate is how do we move forward on that from your perspective of attracting business, from your perspective of getting Marathon visible for a site of investment, right? So I think that's one thing that we both. And then the other one too is that with having those issues and having that, you can live in Marathon yet publish worldwide. You can live in Marathon, you know, or work in Marathon and be, you know, access to every market in the world. So.
And we certainly have had in the last few years people who've lived here and done exactly
that.
Yeah.
So thank you very much.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment on that. The problem is, and we had this discussion in the past, is the amount of time you want to commit to the social networking part of it. I know Councilor Debuchy is saying it is a big part, and we've all agreed to that. But the reality is, there are other duties to do day to day that get, and as you know, Bob, and with Greg, and it gets slipped by the wayside because now you're spending, well, as we all know, with in your hand or in your eyes, or it's all there. It takes a lot of time.
Absolutely.
It's amazing the contacts that come in and out by phone, let alone email during the day but I think that an equitable amount of time needs to be put on this just to, as you say, make us visible.
Another thing is a discussion, we really have to focus on getting that combined website working and up and running, and that's got to be key for both the Economic Development Corporation as well as the town, and getting that as the face of the community, so it's combined and it's an easy vehicle to access and work through. Because that is key. If you click and you want to be able to access and go through that pretty easily.
Well, and we've had a website for years that still gets
Mhm.
an amazing
Yeah, amount of
number of hits. And we can-
84,000.
there's a counter on it, we
Yeah.
can keep track of that. But that's a website that we cannot change. So if we want changes there, it's going to cost us
That's
to
right.
make those changes. And that's why we've been looking for 3 or 4 years now at something that we can
Own and control.
have. Yes, exactly.
Get it designed by somebody, but at least own and control it and change it as we see fit.
And even this, I mean, as much as it's hard copy, it only takes one good reader to find that and call Rudy and say, yes, I want to invest, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's all part of the whole package.
Exposure, for sure.
But we're out there, our word's out there again, relation to the website, 84,000 hits in 1 year, that's pretty amazing. And very little effort going into that. I mean,
Right.
because that is a
But-
template, we have very little
Yeah, but-
flexibility with that, but it's still pretty amazing stats that we receive.
One of the problems is a obsolete website or a dated website is detrimental also,
Oh, yeah.
right?
It's got to be living. It's got to be living.
So also then too, when I mentioned that thing, as part of your budget planning processes, there are a lot of companies out there, and it's that maintain or give you access to your website and create it or whatever it may be, and we all know, there's GoDaddy, there's all kinds, there's, Canadian subsidiaries and whatnot. And that may not be more so for you as an economic development and as a separate entity from the community that may want to explore also too, right? I mean, from that perspective, it wouldn't be prudent for us as a municipality, but it may be more viable for you as a separate entity.
Well, we felt that at this time, we've made a commitment to work with the town here, and so we've been waiting.
Another little example, we went on to TripAdvisor the other day, found a couple businesses that weren't there. We registered one of the local businesses in town, and by the end of the day, 21 positive hits on TripAdvisor for that
Good.
business.
Yeah.
So, and the business didn't know they were even missing that.
It's a huge tool.
It's a huge tool.
And there's a flip side of that too that
Yeah.
we're working on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the good news story.
Well, the flip side is could be a positive tool as well, because it could make the changes you necessarily have to make within your business to be successful.
Absolutely.
And you might not even see that, but yet your visiting customers will recognize the setbacks you're having or the areas of concern, and you address those, right? So it's a good marketing and a good tool for the business. Is there anything else you'd like to ask of Joy or Bob?
No.
No, I want to thank
Thank
you, Joy, for all the time you commit to this as the chair, and I think the board is, as a full body now, is doing some great things, and we'll continue to move forward and encourage that lively debate, as you said earlier, about how the board gets excited about things, and it is. And hopefully, we know that not only that the work that Bob is doing with Greg and the things that are happening within the Group of Seven and the trail system, but also we've talked in many meetings about the fact that we wait for this facility to be torn down, so there's opportunities maybe to look at redevelopment of that industrial site, as we know that there could be possibilities and opportunities there as well, so.
It's a little scary sometimes when people call Bob to say, I think Marathon would be just the place for my business. What kind of land do you
Right.
have for me? And he has to say, well, soon, maybe,
Yes.
you know. and so
Yes,
it's-
and we are, the
We all
municipality,
know.
looking at that as well as hopefully this will be done this year. We can then start looking at marketing
That's great.
that property as a clean brownfield industrial site. as best, I guess, we
Clean
can.
and green.
Daryl?
So, Your Worship, just as a technical point, as the report was brought back as a delegation tonight, we'll bring it forward July 17th as a motion
That's right.
to approve the documents.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
You're
Thanks for
welcome to
coming
stay.
out.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Have a good night. Okay, Councillor, I'll give a quick verbal report on the Ontario Association of Police Service Boards. I attended at the end of May, myself, as well as the two other board members, Harold Griggs and Dan Warren, attended this conference. As always, this is about learning and networking with fellow police service boards throughout the province of Ontario. Obviously, Thursday morning, keynote speakers, Ken East, conference, and the president of the Ontario Association give opening remarks, and then we had Yasser Navik, which is the Minister of Correctional Services, give his remarks in regards to policing in Ontario and the policing for the 21st century. Was the new challenge of policing. As we know, police officers used to go and maintain policing on the street and pull people over in cars and issue tickets. Today, police officers are bear animal control, mental health workers, a variety of different things that we have been putting under the one umbrella for policing in our communities. So this was a huge discussion around the policing and the challenges for policing in Ontario. Then we split off into later that morning into different learning sessions. I took in the OPP hub initiatives in Orillia, where they talked about, as we spoke last year, about the hubs developing networks within the communities that dealing with all the different social network in the communities that we all have, children's aids and victim services and all that, bringing everybody together with the schools, the hospital boards, and talking about how we provide the best possible service for the individual, the family, the youth, the potential youth that could be coming into the system. Very good, very educational. Believe it or not, I was quite surprised that in Orillia, where the majority of the OPP are in the province of Ontario, with the headquarters there and a lot of training going on in Orillia, they have a really high crime rate. I was quite surprised. Downtown Orillia is very, very marked with a lot of youth come from Toronto, Barrie, because it's cheaper to live in Orillia, so they tend to move there from the bigger centers, and yet the crime in downtown Orillia was very high. Would never have guessed that with all the police officers in Orillia. Then I took in the mental health and safety initiatives through the Mental Health Advocate and the Mental Health in Canada, talking about the awareness of mental health and how it has impacts in all our communities. And we all know that. For example, a police officer will take in somebody who has mental health issues in our community to the hospital. Then typically they, or at least one, sometimes two officers will stay at the hospital with that individual for the entire evening or the entire day that the individual is brought into the hospital. So that ties up two officers, typically in our communities, because our hospitals are not big enough to have security officers. So until the mental health individual is more in a controlled state and the hospital feels comfortable that the officers can leave. So that will tie up officers for many, many hours or full days dealing with one individual. So that's very, very expensive for all our communities. I took in some terrorism and global phenomenon, local significance and terrorism. You know, you don't think it hits home, but it really does. It could happen right here out of our own community, that somebody joins into one of the social networking sites and becomes an individual involved in a terrorist group. So that was very educational. Canadian Civilian Community Safety Personnel Program talked about the Greater Sudbury. The Chief Commander talked about alternatives in the community and civilian safety, and having instead of just police officers, having individuals that are lesser paid, but yet still have duties where, like security and different civilian agencies you can utilize within your community to offset the cost of having expensive police officers doing many, many functions. For example, the dance we just held on Saturday, we had to hire 2 police officers that cost quite a bit of money, where if we had those civilian counterparts that don't have a gun on their side but still can do the security, we might be at lesser cost. Things like that, not just in events, but in general policing in the community. And then the modern governance model we took in, that was a learning session in regards to the governance of police and police service boards and the independent boards that govern policing and police boards. Friday, the Morden report talked about the implications of more local governance on the police and in regards to how do we have more say within governance. As we speak as a police service board, as we all know, we talk about what we'd like to see in our community, but it still has all been written up by policy by Orillia. we want to have more say in the governance model, rather than just everything being done in Orillia and then brought back to us as a contract police community, say, okay, here's what's going to happen in your community for policing. Then we, this was quite a bit around police governance. There was a lot of debate. This went on right through the whole morning of Friday. And then Friday afternoon, we had more case studies after lunch in regards to the safe communities, mental health connections, the G20, the race relations, carding, for example, in Toronto. A lot of discussion around that, not so much up here, but in Toronto, it's a big thing. And as we know now, they just banned that. The mayor in Toronto banned the carding of individuals in the community. And then the members' conduct and code of conduct and the OCPC decisions that have been made over the last year or two. Then we had the general meeting for the actual board. And then we had, later on in the afternoon, we had the ombudsman come in and talk about policing in the community, and he was very good. As we know, Andre Morin is very blunt and very to the point, and he's not shy to say what he had to say in regards to his report about the policing in Ontario, that there's some issues within policing, and specifically municipal police, but a lot to do around OPP policing and the governance model of that. Saturday was more of a learning police governance and legislation in regards to the framework that we all must abide by. And then, of course, the session was closed off and we headed home. So very educational, very good presenters and very good speakers. Councillor Debussy.
Just a question here, about the I'll say the policing costs or security costs there. Was there any discussion about the Pan Am Games in Toronto and the costs associated it? I know that the Toronto Police Services Board is the lead, but OPP and even RCMP are playing a significant role in that. How is that costing going to be distributed? Is it similar to the G20 when we had that fiasco, or is it part of the, I guess, duty of hosting the Pan Am?
It'll be shared amongst the province, the City of Toronto, and the federal government in regards to the policing costs. And the number was tossed around, many different numbers, but nobody could put a real number on it because it's going to be substantial in regards to policing costs. For the amount of individual athletes going to Toronto, I think it's the biggest gathering of athletes in Canadian history, and then support staff and people coming with them, coaching and all that, and the cost is going to be in the hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah, and I don't doubt it.
It's going to be shared amongst all of us taxpayers in Ontario and Canada.
I mean, it is important in this day and age, the security portion. I just was wondering if that became a sore point or discussion point among police services, because there's, as more and more communities are trying to attract these big events there, it's, I mean, the Olympics was an example where the costs are just prohibitive to try and host these things, not just the infrastructure, but the actual hosting of the events. So I was just wondering if there was discussions leading up to that.
Yeah, no, there certainly was, but the reality is that police service boards don't have a say in regards to the political aspect of who gets what and who votes for the games to be brought to their city. So that was obviously voted by the Council of the City of Toronto to host the games, with hopefully, I'm assuming at that time when they put their name in for the selection, that they had the backing of the province. But at the end of the day, there is only one taxpayer, and that's all of us, so that's who's going to pay. How that money comes out at the end of the day through the wash.
No, I was just wondering if there was a discussion points on those.
We'll all stay tuned. I mean, similar to just the activities we held here at Marathon, $5,000 each host community that went through. Like, that's a lot of money to be, paid for a celebration of the torch relay. So there's some corporate sponsorship obviously there, but there's going to be a lot of taxpayers' dollars being paid for all that stuff. Okay, no other questions Ed? Good. Okay, as our student councils are on summer break, we will reintroduce those in the fall. We'll have, hopefully, we won't have Gabby back. I don't know about Sam. I don't know if he's graduating this year as well.
No, he's still here.
No, he's got a
He
year.
said he's interested.
Okay, so we'll probably hopefully have Sam back and maybe a new counselor, so we look forward to that. CEO reports, nothing from Darren's desk. Okay, report on the final tax levies for 2015. Darren, you gonna do that one?
Correct.
Okay.
At the regular meeting of council held on April 27, 2015, the 2015 budget was approved and bylaw number 1854 was passed. Schedule A detailed how much was to be levied for each purpose: general, municipal, capital, and education. A bylaw is required specifying the tax rates by property class. The rates are attached as Schedule A. Financial implications are outlined in the 2015 final levy of taxes. And the options are A, to approve the 2015 final levy of taxes as presented, B, approve the levy of taxes with amendments. And your administration is recommending that option A be approved and that bylaw number 1861, adopting the 2015 final levy of taxes, be approved as presented. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. I do have a motion here, moved by Councillor Gingras, second by Councillor Debuchy, that the council hereby accepts the attached report and recommendation 2015 final levy of taxes and further that bylaw number 1861 be adopted, approving the 2015 final levy of taxes. Any questions? Hearing none. Call question, all in favor? Carried. Thank you for that report. Okay, the official plan, report on the official plan. Mr. Kirster is going to come down and present that motion. Good evening, Rick.
Good evening, Your Worship, members of council. So the approval of the new official plan. Municipalities in Ontario are required by the Planning Act to review and revise their official plans and zoning bylaws every 5 years from the day that they are adopted and approved by Municipal Affairs and Housing. Our process started in late 2012, and this evening represents the closure on the process for the official plan. Section 17, sub 22 of the Planning Act of Ontario states that when council is satisfied with the plan and that the appropriate public consultation is being conducted, council may adopt the official plan by adopting by bylaw. Public consultation meetings were held in September of 2012, February 2015, and earlier this evening. Once approved by council, the plan is sent to Municipal Affairs and Housing for their final approval. Upon this approval, the new official plan will come into full force and effect, and the companion document, the zoning bylaw, may then be passed. Passing of the zoning bylaw is being scheduled for September of this year. Financial implications, funds for this process have been allocated for in the 2015 operational budget. Options, option A, approve bylaw 1862, which adopts the new official plan, permitting your administration to forward it to Municipal Affairs and Housing for their final approval. Or option B, do not approve bylaw 1862 and direct your administration to make further amendments. Your administration recommends that option A be approved and that bylaw 1862 be passed, thereby approving the town of Marathon's official plan, respectively submitted.
Thank you for that report, Rick. I do have a motion here that council hereby accepts the attached report and recommendation and approval of the official plan, and further that bylaw number 1862 being the bylaw to adopt and approving the official plan presented later this evening. So moved by Councillor Debuchy, second by Councillor Gingras. Any questions of Mr. Kirster? Councillor Debuchy?
No, it's just,
I just have one comment, rather than bringing it into the actual bylaw for the official, the passing of the bylaw. We did talk about it earlier, and just for the public's awareness, that the government is looking at some changes within the Municipal Act and the Planning Act for Ontario to allow the municipalities from going from a 5-year to a 10-year review of the official plan. And what our discussions earlier this evening was around the cost to the municipalities. It's a burden on some small communities in regards to the costs associated with reviewing it every 5 years. So hopefully that the government does have the amendments done in Bill 73 to allow us to go to a 10-year plan for review.
Yeah.
Okay. So with that being said, I'll call a question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Once again, thank you, Rick, for that. Okay, we have a couple bylaws. Bylaw number 1861 being a bylaw to adopt the final levy of taxes for the year 2015 in and for the collection of the said taxes to be read the first and second time this 26th day of June 2015. Moved by Councillor Gingras, seconded by Councillor Debuchy. Any questions of that? Bylaw none. Call a question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And I have a motion here that bylaw number 1862 being a bylaw to adopt the official plan for the town of Marathon be read the first and second time this 26th day of June 2015. It's been moved by Councillor Debuchy, seconded by Councillor Gingras. Any questions of that? Hearing none, I'll call a question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And of course, we have the third reading of those said bylaws. Bylaws number 1861 and 1862 be read a third time and finally passed this 26th day of June 2015. That council hereby accepts, the financial.
Oh, so that was.
That's the,
second one.
oops, sorry. That's an add-on that I shouldn't have been reading.
That's the next one.
Yeah.
Is that there, though?
Yeah,
Your next one is,
no, it's on the same page, and it's not on this, that's okay.
Can you just?
So what I'll do is I'll split them up, okay?
Yeah.
So with the mover and seconder, so I'll move this one with Councillor Shingra, seconded by Councillor Debuchy. That we are just for the third reading of the bylaws. And no questions? Hearing none? Call a question, all in favor? Carried. So on the same page, I'm going to just use the same mover as the seconders, moved by Councillor Shingra, seconded by Councillor Debuchy, that the council hereby accepts the 2014 financial statements as presented by Grant Thornton that were accepted on June 15, 2015 by council. All in favor? Carried, thank you. So we'll split it up, and I'll just sign that motion with a separate one. Thanks. Okay, up next, we have a motion here that represents the Franco Ontarian Day in and for the town of Marathon to be proclaimed September 25th, 2015. And I need a mover, so Councillor Debuchy and Councillor Shingra, that we do proclaim September 25th, 2015 as Franco Ontarian Day in and for the town of Marathon. Any questions?
Also to the flag, will we read?
We'll do the flag in the morning, usually the school comes over, and so they'll make
Yeah,
the...
I was involved last year
Yeah.
and did a little
So they'll get,
comments, yeah.
they'll get a hold of us probably first part of September, I would imagine, set up that. Okay, carried. Thank you. Okay, I got some announcements. Now, this Marathon Economic Development Corporation is hosting a partnership with the Marathon District Chamber of Commerce. The Biz Kids, as Joy and Bob talked about earlier, Biz Kids Camp that started today, runs right through till Friday. And the kids, there's 7 that signed up for the program, and they're learning how to become the next local entrepreneurs in our community. And it's a great program. They'll be marketing their business products and ideas. They have to borrow money, they have to run it, just to set up a business plan and a financial plan, the whole bit. But the big thing is they will be at the Marathon Center Mall on July 3rd from 11:30 to 1, and they will be selling their business, whether it's products or it's a new business idea or whatever their business plan is from now until Thursday they come up with, whether it's making cookies or becoming the next Donald Trump. They're going to be
Please
selling
not
them.
Donald Trump.
Well, okay. Somebody
After the
with
comments he did.
Bruce Firestone, how's that? Anyway, the reality is that it's a good program, and thanks the Marathon Economic Development Corporation as well as Marathon District Chamber of Commerce for hosting this, and hopefully these will be our next entrepreneurs in Marathon. So that's Friday at the Center Mall from 11:30 to 1. Drop by, talk to the kids, and buy their products or take part in their business activities.
And we wish him the best of luck.
Yes, absolutely. Of course, Wednesday, July 1st, it's supposed to be sunny and about 27 degrees, as I heard from Al Criswell. That Marathon Wednesday, July 1st at Penn Lake Park, as Canada Day celebration as always, as a great activities that will be taking place all day. I think it's starting at 11 o'clock, or am I reading this right?
11 o'clock, correct?
11 till 4, and then there'll be the course, the cake cutting at 2 p.m., but there'll be all kinds of activities, games, the bouncy castles for the kids. Come on out, enjoy the day. And last year, I know the little guys were going down the water slide one, and they were like, they couldn't even move after they went down for a couple slides. So hopefully it'll be a little warmer this year, that they won't be that cold. But there is opportunities, there's open mic, there's all kinds of fun things that pop out. And of course, in the evening is the great Marathon Fireworks, which is really one of the better shows in the Northwest in regards to the fireworks. And thank the fire department and all the volunteers who put that on. So come on out and take place at some of the activities on Canada Day. Any other comments? Councilor Debuchy?
Calendar watering.
Well, calendar watering, yeah, you gotta be always aware of that. That's always promoted throughout the town in regards to one of our bylaws. Odd and even days, 6 in the morning till 9 in the morning if it's your day, 6 in the evening till 9 in the evening it's your day. So please abide by those bylaws, and hopefully your gardens are all growing well, but most of us, our tomato plants now are probably dying with all this lovely weather. So you won't need no water for them. Anything else?
Just on note on the watering here, and I know it may not seem important in Northern Ontario where we have a huge lake right there, but considering what's going on out west and in some of the provinces or states out in Western Canada, just to let us know that water is a resource and water has value, and be mindful of our usage, because out west, they're just struggling now. So, you know, it may not affect us today, but somewhere down the road, it may. And it wasn't too long ago that, amazingly enough, we had issues with our reservoirs, in a sense, about capacity and pressure. So it's not something to be taken for granted, so.
Okay, anything else? Hearing none, we will be going into an in-camera session directly following this to talk about personnel matter. So we will be adjourning this meeting, going into an in-camera meeting. So moved by Councillor Tabushi, second by Councillor Zingra, that we now adjourn at the hour of 7:35 p.m.